do not start in the comment, okay? Chill out, relax. Can I get to my disclaimer? But hello, beautiful people around the world. I hope everybody's blessed, well, and healthy, and that nothing but the best is going on in all you beautiful people's life, okay? Disclaimer. Everybody on this channel, I say this all the time, you are loved and accepted. We don't care what your skin color is. I'm going to repeat it one more time. We do not care what your skin color is. We all bleed the same, and we all got to die one day. We all got to pay bills and taxes until we die. So one thing I spread on my channel is love, y'all. I love y'all, man. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what country, what state, what zip code. Hey, I don't care if you drive on the left or the right side of the road. I love y'all, man, and I'm wishing the best in all you guys' life. But today we're going to be checking out a video request that was sent in on my Instagram DMs. And this is the top 10 racist towns in America. So as an American, I'm going to react to this. Shout out to my fellow Americans. I love y'all. And then also shout out to the our people from all across the globe and other beautiful countries. You know what I'm saying? Other environments, other atmospheres, you know what I'm saying? It's all love though, baby. But we're gonna shout out to the this travel channel. I will leave the original link in the description box down below if you guys want to check it out for yourself. But without further ado, let's crank this bad boy.
Did you know that on average, black men in the US receive sentences that are 19.1% longer than those of white men convicted for the same crimes?
Whoa! Whoa! Hey, leave a like on today's video, okay?
Additionally,
it's not funny, okay? I'm not laughing.
15.8% of black students reported experiencing race-based bullying or harassment. On the contrary, African-American owned businesses are the fastest growing segment of the women-owned business market. They are starting up at a rate 6 times higher than the national average. With all of the strides we've made, the nation still grapples with its legacy of racism. It's hard to quantify the most racist towns in America, and this list may shock, offend, baffle, and create a feeling of discomfort. For others, this list isn't long enough. It's important to remember that not everyone in these towns are racist, and in fact, there are movers and shakers across the nation fighting for racial justice. Compiling this list is difficult because, of course, big cities will have higher instances of hate crimes, but that could also be explained by its greater welcoming of diversity. Therefore, this list will be a compilation of anecdotal evidence, statistical information, and how a town's history with race impacts it today. If your town is on this list, maybe it's time for you to be the change that is needed. After all, when we know better, we do better. Stay tuned to the end for some unexpected trivia about the names of places that you probably never thought about. Without further ado, here are America's most racist towns in no particular order.
No particular order.
Number 1 is Harrison, Arkansas. Harrison sits in Boone County in
Arkansas! Not Arkansas. Well, I'd be golly darn.
northern Arkansas, just on the border of Missouri. The town has been dubbed the most racist town in America, and that legacy goes deep, both historically and contemporarily. A viral video made by Bob Bliss did little favors for the town. He made a video called "Holding a Black Lives Matter Sign in America's Most Racist Town." What followed was 3 days of abuse, racial slurs, ironic since Bliss is white, and even direct death threats.
Oh, wow.
While many residents have been challenging this reputation, it's an uphill battle when your town serves as the headquarters and mailing address for the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh.
The town's history is no better. Arkansas, a former slave state, gained notoriety with the Harrison race riots of 1905 and 1909, where the town violently removed all but one black man, creating an all-white community. The town has been working to rid itself of its legacy, and since 2003 has had a community task force on race relations to combat racism. The task force has been successful in removing offensive billboards, and a petition to remove one particular billboard received over 8,000 signatures. Hopefully, Harrison is on the road to equality. Number 2 takes us to the far north of Anchorage, Alaska. Black Americans aren't the only victims of racism, and this city has
Alaska.
Almost an invisible form of prejudice against Native Alaskans. Though Alaska Natives make up only 16% of the population, they make up 29% of all homicide victims, with Anchorage leading the violent crime statistics. Black Americans living in Alaska make up only 4% of the population, but they make up 10% of all homicide victims. Anchorage has a crisis of violence against Alaska Native women, with less resources being put towards solving these crimes. The murder of Brandon Erlmeyer, whose Tlingit name means Old Man Raven, highlights this disparity. His murder was nearly 6 years ago, and no arrests have been made as of 2023. His memorial site has been vandalized by bullets and fire. His case has reignited the epidemic of crimes against Alaska Natives, many of which go unsolved. In the Anchorage School District, Black students receive failing grades at twice that of white students, while Native Alaskans receive failing grades at 3 times that of their white counterparts. This doesn't mean teachers are deliberately failing students of color, but it does highlight achievement gaps, access to technology, as well as instructional inequities. Many Native Alaskan children are classified as ELL, or English language learners, given that English is not their primary language at home. This is a result of colonization, creating a disadvantage for Native Alaskan children being thrust into an English world. Alaska only became a state in 1959, so it's no surprise that many people still speak their native languages at home. A bright side for Anchorage is that it is the fastest growing city in terms of racial and ethnic diversity in the US. Number 3 is a strange one. Leith, North Dakota, an otherwise small town in the middle of nowhere with only 29 residents, gained notoriety in
that's my it got to be some kind of racism going on. Way that look like. Nah, I'm just kidding, man. Hey, take a joke, lighten up, don't be too sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Bad enough there's already racist in the part of my title, so that hey, don't be too sensitive, okay, y'all? But man, North Dakota.
2012, when white nationalist Craig Cobb moved into Leith and bought up 12 plots of land. This Aryan-centric takeover was highlighted in the PBS documentary Welcome to Leith. Cobb encouraged his followers to move to Leith, and in 2018, they successfully had 2 of their white nationalists voted onto the city council. This was devastating to Leith residents who held protests, even going so far as to petitioning Grant County to dissolve Leith as a city in order to remove the white supremacists from office. It was never dissolved, and today Leith still exists, but Craig Cobb has sold off his land and left. The lone black resident, Bobby Harper, said his life was overturned and fraught with turmoil since the arrival of Craig Cobb and his white supremacist followers. The people of Leith fought hard to reclaim their town, and it's sad that the name of Leith is now tethered to hate, when none of its original residents, including Mr. Harper, felt like their town was ever racist before. Cobb and one of his followers were charged with 7 felony counts of terrorizing town residents. Though the town successfully rid itself of Cobb and his plot to take over the town, it is marred in the minds of the nation and immortalized in a documentary.
Wow.
On the upside, this showed how one tiny town, with less residents than an apartment building, was able to stand up for what's right and win back their town from the grips of racism and hate. Clutch your pearls, California, because you are number 4 on this list. That's right, racism is not limited to the American South or rural towns with predominantly white populations. With racism, race riots, and sundown towns riddled throughout Los Angeles, that city escapes this list by virtue of its population being large enough to outwit any statistics. The same cannot be said for California's 5th largest city, Fresno. Fresno is a tale of 2 cities. The western half of Fresno.
This is not the first time I've heard Fresno come up, though. I'm so serious, y'all. This is not my first time hearing about this coming up in the racist topic. Oh man, Fresno. Shout out to my California peeps. California peeps, baby. Shout out to the California peeps, man.
Is 2/3 Latino and 1/5 black. Just by driving through, it is evident that the city is neglected, and this is not because of its residents. The city itself has neglected it with pothole-ridden roads, overflowing landfills, and schools unable to meet the needs of its children. One Fresno resident recalls being called racial slurs by her white teachers who made it clear that West Fresno was not their choice place to be. More than half of West Fresno lives below the poverty line compared to only 27% of the rest of the city. A simple internet search will reveal a city fraught with racial violence, accusations of racism among the school boards, and government neglect in its neighborhoods, predominantly comprised of people of color. The residential segregation is no accident either. It was by design. Though outlawed for over 50 years, redlining was a legal process in which people of color were denied mortgages for housing and deeds were restricted for whites only in certain white neighborhoods. The legacy of this process existed informally long after the laws were changed, and that leaves us with two very different Fresnos. The city's residents are making strides by acknowledging those systemic policies of the past that still present themselves today. Number 5 is Vidor, Texas, a small town in the southeastern corner of the state just east of Houston.
Vidor, y'all know your boy at, huh? Houston, Texas, baby. Shout out to my Texas people, man. I love y'all. Yay! Yay!
Vidor was one of hundreds of communities in America known as a sundown town. This was a place where Black Americans were not allowed after dark. In some of these towns, there were posted signs saying things like, "Whites only after."
Wow. Whites only after dark within city limits. Whites only within city limits after dark.
Mayors of Vidor have tried to change its reputation, but to this day, many Black Americans won't even stop for gas in Vidor.
Wow.
According to the 2020 census, Vidor has a population of around 8,600, with only 39 residents identifying as Black. The first Black resident moved into Vidor in 1993 amidst Ku Klux Klan-led protests.
Oh, man.
This came as a push to desegregate the town. Despite his pleas for more Black residents to join him, only 5 other Black Americans were willing to move. Little has changed since. In 2020, in the wake of the death of George Floyd, a Black Lives Matter march was set to take place in Vidor. The march forced the town to reckon with its reputation, and although the march was considered a victory by most for even taking place, the march was met with backlash from many of the town residents, as well as counter-protesters. Residents of Vidor have been vocal on social media trying to debunk the notion that it is a racist place, but even many of those posts have racist undertones. Vidor has work to do, but the fact that many residents joined the Black Lives Matter march gives hope that there is change on the horizon. Sorry to say that we are staying in the South for the next one. Number 6 is Rochelle, Georgia.
Yeah.
But more realistically, the entire county of Wilcox. But before—
I wish we all would just love each other, man. I want to just pause and tell y'all that I love y'all. That's what I want to pause and tell y'all. I want to pause and say I love every last one of y'all. Could give a damn what your skin color is.
Residents get offended, your town's youth have actually brought this issue to light and forced the town to grapple with its legacy of the past. Wilcox County sits smack dab in the middle of the state. It's a place where tradition is revered. There's a church on every corner, Confederate flags wave proudly, and up until 2014, the schools still held segregated proms. That's right, until the year 2014, many rural Georgia schools still held segregated proms. How can a public school get away with this? Simple, they didn't—
Wow. Man. I tell y'all, every day I learn something new, you know? Every day I learn something new. Every day you learn something you didn't know, or you learn something about history that you didn't know what that took on in history, or it's always good to just— I'm telling y'all, these YouTube videos have completely been I would say life-changing. I've probably learned way more on this platform thanks to you guys, thanks to all the video requests, thanks to just YouTube being YouTube, than going to school for the last 14, 15, 20 years. Sheesh.
Do it. During desegregation, many schools stopped hosting proms to avoid having integrated dances. Parents and students hosted their own proms, one for white students and one for black students. In a county that's 35% black, this is hard to imagine that despite all our efforts to combat racism, Georgia was still holding segregated proms. Despite this, it was the students of Wilcox County High School in Rochelle, Georgia, that decided enough was enough.
Yeah, man, I'm like, cause y'all know, over here in Houston, Texas, where I'm at, and I graduated, 5 years? It's been 5 years now? 5 years since I graduated high school. We had diverse prom, and man, we had a good time, man. We loved each other at my high school. I mean, every race you could think of, every person that looked like something else was at my school. You feel me? We had black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Indian. I mean, everything you could think of. And everybody was so cool, man. And we all somewhat listened to each other's music. So we had a fun time at prom. You know what I'm saying? We had a very diverse playlist at the prom and everything. Had a good old time, man. Damn, I wish we all would just love each other, man. Sheesh. Videos like this really do break my heart, though, man. To hear all this information I've never heard before. Some places I've heard, but like a lot of this is new to me. So it's like, wow, you know.
4 students, 2 black and 2 white, created a Facebook page in 2014 to petition the school to host an official prom, an integrated prom. While these students shed light on a racist part of the country that many enlightened Americans pretend don't exist, this also stoked the fire of change. Wilcox has a long way to go, but its youth have paved the way for social change. Number 7 is another clutch your pearls moment. Crown Heights, Brooklyn, a neighborhood within New York City, makes this list. While New York City as a whole is often considered a bastion of racial progress and enlightenment, hate crimes are on the rise, up 76% in New York City to be exact. This could be attributed to new task forces encouraging people to report hate crimes, but the result is nonetheless bad news for big cities that like to pride themselves on being less racist than others. Having a bigger population or more diversity should not be an excuse for having more hate crimes. If these cities were as progressive as they tout, then there shouldn't be so many hate crimes. Crown Heights has historically been a refuge for Hasidic Jews fleeing Europe. The neighborhood was put on the map after race riots in 1991 between black and Jewish residents, which was immortalized in Anna Deavere Smith's play Fires in the Mirror, which was performed all over the world and solidified in a filmed version on PBS. Jewish Americans have found themselves in a racial gray zone in America. Historically, they have not been afforded the privilege of whiteness, but in the modern context of white privilege, they are often lumped in. They were not white when their lives literally depended on it, but they are now white and often ignored when they are the victims of anti-Semitism. The Jewish population in Crown Heights was disproportionately affected by the COVID pandemic. Accusations that media and local officials in Crown Heights cover up anti-Semitism runs rampant, and there are many articles of news media tripping over itself trying to explain why anti-Semitism in Crown Heights isn't really anti-Semitism. Number 8 is Milwaukee. Wisconsin is regularly voted one of the best states to live in with its low crime, great access to healthcare, and a quality school system. But as the nation confronts racism head-on more and more, cities like Milwaukee have to ask itself, are all of those good qualities really benefiting all people? Those great schools in Milwaukee suspend black students for similar offenses as white students at more than twice the rate of the national average, more than any other state in America. When polled, many Americans think of Wisconsin in general as being a very white state, when actually black Americans make up 40% of Milwaukee, and yet its schools also have the highest achievement gap in the country. It isn't just the schools that show racial disparities. Wisconsin also incarcerates the most black men in the country, and in Milwaukee County, more than half of all black men in their 30s and 40s have been to jail or prison.
Wow.
Thanks to historical policies that have now been outlawed, Milwaukee is also one of the most segregated cities. The city, in its typical polite Midwest fashion, has tried to combat this with groups like Rid Racism Milwaukee. The group, comprised of individuals and corporations across the city, cites in its vision for Greater Milwaukee to be a model of racial equality, justice, and harmony. Number 9 is a literal paradise, but is it really a paradise for all residents and visitors? Honolulu, you are now under the spotlight.
Honolulu, Hawaii.
The very nature of how Hawaii became part of the United States is reflected in the modern-day hate crimes that plague the city. Hawaii was first settled by Polynesians around 400 CE. They lived in small fishing villages until 1778, when James Cook, the first European, landed on the islands. Between 1791 and 1810, King Kamehameha united the entire archipelago into one kingdom, but by 1820, Christian missionaries and American businessmen brought disease and conquest. When Cook first arrived, there were 300,000 native Hawaiians. By 1853, the native population was down to 70,000. In 1893, thanks to the money that could be made from its sugar plantations, the U.S. annexed Hawaii and overthrew the kingdom. The last Hawaiian ruler, Queen Liliuokalani, was deposed, imprisoned, and forced to abdicate. By 1959, Hawaii became a state. The lasting effects have left a trail of racism in its wake, landing Honolulu on this list. In Honolulu, on the island of Oahu, this disparity is seen in lack of affordable housing, with native Hawaiians representing only 10% of Oahu's population, but make up 51% of those who are unhoused on the island. Like in Alaska, there is almost an invisible racist element to Honolulu. Western tourism, predominantly from the mainland, has driven up costs on Oahu so high that native Hawaiians, who have lived on the island for over 1,400 years, now find themselves overrepresenting the homeless population. Most people don't realize that their vacations to paradise are contributing to an underbelly of racism. There are many ways to be a responsible tourist to Honolulu, with one main thing being to frequent local establishments. Forego a chain hotel on Waikiki Beach and instead find a local vacation home owned by a native Hawaiian. Contribute to the local economy by doing research in advance and spending money on native shops, restaurants, and cultural centers. Number 10 is a town that would be hard to overlook. Pulaski, Tennessee is the birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh,
literally
man.
Its birthplace. On December 24th, 1865, in the wake of the Civil War, the South's defeat, and the era of Reconstruction, 6 former Confederate officers founded the Klan. What started out as a small vigilante group that would ride around at
All
night
I can do
in
is shake
hoods
my head,
became
man.
an invisible empire that would terrorize, burn, and kill recently freed black people, abolitionists, and sympathetic whites. A plaque dedicated to the birth of the Klan still hangs in the old Pulaski courtroom, despite its obviously hateful intentions. Today, many Pulaski residents say they support the plaque as it represents chivalry in the face of the Union and not a representation of racism. It's a sentiment that does not sit right with many Black Americans that may find themselves in Pulaski. Other Pulaski locals are doing their best to fight the reputation through social action and even art. Local artist Bernice Davidson founded the Unsung Heroes Project and has created murals honoring the heroes of Pulaski, including a painting for the Trail of Tears Museum that teaches about the Indian Removal Act, which forced Native Americans off their land in a death march to Oklahoma. Some work that could still be done is renaming some of America's towns and sites. According to the U.S. Board of Geographic Names, there are 799 sites named Squaw, an offensive term for Native Americans, 621 sites that still have the word Negro in its name, 29 places with the word Chinaman, 82 with the name Redman, and many more. There are also 12 counties either named Jeff Davis or Lee after the Confederate president and Southern Civil War general. Imagine being a Jewish person having to attend Hitler High School. Well, thousands of Black American students must attend schools named after prominent Confederate leaders and slaveholders. We have a long way to go still, but we should also acknowledge how far we've come.
Well, gotta take my headphones off on a video like that. Would love to hear you guys in the comments down below. Let me know how you feel about this one. If you want to add any extra info or details, please feel free to comment down below. Your voice matters. Your opinions matter. And before I end this video, I want to just say that I love y'all, man. And I'm wishing everybody the best and that we all could just love one another, man. Again, just even hearing the word racist kind of just tears me down, okay? And it sucks, but it's just life, you know. It happened. And sadly, it's still here. It's still here in today's time, today's generation, today's. It's just still here, you know. Hatred, you know. And again, it was taught, you know. And this is one reason why I spread love every single day, man. Get that hatred out your heart. Life is too short for all that, man. And I could give a damn what your skin color is, man. Everybody is special, beautiful, and unique in their own way. And at the end of the day, we all bleed the same and we all got to die one day, man. Spread that love to one another. I'm wishing the best in all you guys' life, your family, you know what I'm saying, your loved ones, your friends, the neighbors, and the strangers around the world, man. Spread that love. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this video. Drop a like for me. Hit the subscribe button. Join the Key Common family. And I will catch y'all in the next one, man. Peace and love, y'all.